Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not
to me.
Why do I have the authority to determine what I say? What kind of question is that?
Why do you have the authority? Let me finish. Why do you have the authority to determine whether or not an individual is worthy of you using their pronouns? Like, if I asked you, would you please use they, them pronouns for me? What?
It would depend on what I thought of your
hoops
motivation.
do you want us to jump through?
Those are my pronouns. Those are my
There's
pronouns.
no motivation.
So something about this has been bothering me for some time, obviously, but something has been hiding inside it that I couldn't put my finger on, and I think I may have figured it out. The young lady insisting, those are my pronouns, is wrong. Obviously. But she's wrong long before we ever get to use of gender-neutral they-them pronouns, or especially the made-up pronouns ze, zer, and the like. She's wrong about the possession. She's wrong about the ownership of the pronouns. I don't believe the pronouns by which I refer to her belong to her. They belong to me. Pronouns replace proper nouns, but they also serve a function of categorization. I separates me from you and everybody else. We separates you and me from everybody else. It puts boxes around us. Those categorizations are based on a perception. I perceive a person. My perception categorizes them as a woman. I employ pronouns she, her. Nowhere in this process is there an implication of an exchange of ownership. It's my perception, my categorization, my pronoun. Even the bloody process belongs to me. Why would the end result of that process, the pronoun being used, suddenly be the property of somebody else? You'll notice that I've been referring to the person claiming, those are my pronouns, as she, her, young lady. Now, I am currently doing this on purpose, but at first I did it instinctively. I couldn't avoid it. Why did I do that? There's too much information to decode the matrix. So we've developed a series of shortcuts to help us recognize things quickly and accurately. People working on AI have discovered that we don't recognize structure. We don't see 4 legs, flat surface, straight back equals chair. What we see is a place to sit. Right? You see a log that's lower than your hips, that's a chair. You recognize it as something on which to sit. And so all these shortcuts are become a serious pain in the balls for AI programmers. Now, these shortcuts, because they're shortcuts, have the potential to be tricked. And the best example I've heard of this, I'll try and link something about it in the description if I can, because this is great. There was a particular kind of insect, I can't remember if it was like a fly or a beetle in Australia, a brown and glossy insect that was at risk of going extinct because people were throwing beer bottles into the outback. You see, the insect's shortcut for potential mates was brown and glossy. So males en masse were raping discarded beer bottles and ignoring females and not breeding. Now, the difference between those poor insects and us people is we can go back and look more in depth, analyze something, and determine whether or not we've actually seen the cues that we thought we saw, that we instinctively took in. So, first cue right off the bat. You can see that there is a man in the background whose head is cut off in the image, and a woman standing next to him. He's a head taller than the woman in the blue sweater. And this young lady's in the foreground, so it's possible she's actually shorter than the woman in the background. Size difference between males and females. First cue. Hands. Hands, very small, even for her body size, and delicate looking. That's a feminine feature. No Adam's apple. Feminine feature. I'm not the greatest example here. Counter example. Soft jawline, narrow chin. Ton of biological cues that I instinctively read, and I'm examining now. And then, of course, there's the social cue of the sort of try-hardish, overly baggy, boyish clothes that would tell me that you're a girl trying to look like a boy. But I don't think I made a mistake here. So let's play a little game. Imagine this young lady, who I've referred to as she, says, no, I'm a trans man, and I want you to refer to me as he, him. This person is now asking me to change my pronoun use by changing my categorization of that person. That requires a change in my perception. Okay. How to change my perception? Personally, evidence tends to work. So, gender dysphoria is in the DSM. People can transition from one gender to the other through hormones, surgery, etc. That's plenty for me. That'll do it. My perception has now altered. It goes against the cues, obviously, right? But I can do it. I can change my perception based on that. So now I perceive a person, categorize them as trans man, and employ pronouns he, him. Not a problem. Done. So let's move on to the actual situation. This person claims they are, I use she, her, and the person says, no, I'm Bananarama. And I would ask you to use pronouns Bana and Rama. You want me to change my pronoun usage, which means you want me to recategorize you. So you have to change my perception. You have to now convince me. You have to show me evidence that you are a non-binary gender. Non-binary is not in the DSM. There is no treatment or procedure which you can undertake that shows me anything. There's nothing. You haven't changed. Just calling me a transphobe when, keep in mind, non-binary people are not trans. Trans refers to transitioning. Non-binary people generally aren't transitioning. They're simply trying to claim they are a thing. End of story. So calling me a transphobe, bigot, and shouting, "Those are my pronouns," that's not going to convince me. And it is on you, the person making the claim, and her, in this case, the person making the claim, to prove it. Broken record, C16. So many things that we've discussed about it. And it's so much worse. Based on this, it's compelled speech. It's thought control. It's a step farther than that. It's perception control. It's as if they said, this isn't red. It's blue. And it's not the name of it. It's not the name that's changed. It's criminalized your recognition of this as red. if you recognize it as red, you're committing some sort of hate crime. It's maybe it is the end of the world. Relevant links to shit I said in the description? Maybe. I'm Irving Twin. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.